Hey Soul Warriors, have you ever felt like you're constantly searching for answers, devouring every spiritual book and podcast, but never quite feeling fulfilled? Well, you're not alone. In our pursuit of enlightenment, many of us get stuck in the seeking phase, endlessly consuming information without truly embodying what we've learned. Join us in this first of 4 aspects of spiritual development, seeking. We'll look at the common pitfalls of getting trapped in seeker mode and talk about how to use it to our full advantage. So this was inspired. We were at a gathering the other day and somebody brought out, I want to make sure I get it right, the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, which talked about these 4 different aspects. And Wolf and I just were like, yeah, those are all vital pieces of our spiritual exploration. So the first one is seeking. We're going to do one each week. And I know I've been stuck in seeker mode, not just in spirituality, but it just in general in life because of natural curiosity, because of loving to learn. But then it can get me trapped in that cycle of, okay, what's the next thing? Okay, what's the next thing? I still feel this way. So what's the next thing? Instead of really settling into it and giving time for what I've learned to breathe.
I fell in love with the fact that it said in the back of the book, to seek, to feel, to grow, to heal. And I think that is the process that we are all going through in the experience of this life, the experience of the things that we want to create. And I do believe that we do get stuck in the seeking modes. So I'm not sure exactly what it is that people are holding on to or tapping into, but when I did in that seeker energy, it was just like I even got a headache.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting murky waters, I believe, that I entered in tapping into the seeker energy. You guys are in a place in your life, I'm assuming if you're here, where you're looking to level up where you are in your life. You're looking to manifest certain things. But if you're stuck in the process, that kind of puts a stick in the mud.
Stick in the mud, that's for sure. When I was sitting with this energy before I started the podcast, because I've never felt like this before we got on a podcast, I'm like, I just don't want to do this. But it wasn't the normal, if we're having a day where we don't want to record, we're like, okay, let's, we'll hit it again tomorrow when we really feel engaged with it. But the deeper I got into this energy, the more I was like, I don't want to. And I think it's because of the seeker in me. I mean, my brain gets full and then I get exhausted and then I get decision fatigue. And it's just it's so much, it's almost overwhelming when you sit in seeker mode too long. Yeah. I mean, you have to dip in and out of it. Instead of searching, the seeker is just I'm aware. So as I'm going about the world, all of a sudden, something will connect in with me, like the bear we were talking about that we ran into in our last podcast. And the bear energy came in and we're like, oh, and that shifted everything. We weren't seeking any sort of shamanic bear energy. It's more of the seeking is just I am open to receiving whatever I need in this moment to help move me forward. Because I know when I'm doing it just from a place of logic or just from a place of I know the information in my mind, but I don't know it in my body. And I haven't aligned it all with my spirit. And that's why it's not working. Something is off there.
I get the vibe that you should ask yourself, what exactly am I seeking? What is the purpose behind it? What is the feeling I'm looking to get or achieve? Because if you're kind of having diarrhea of the mouth, it's just, I need this, I'm looking for this, I want to manifest this, I want to do all these things, but it's not really pinpointed, and the motivation behind it could be completely different than what you're looking for. So it's pausing just enough so that you can ask yourself, what exactly am I trying to create? What exactly am I trying to feel? What am I truly seeking for? What is the thing that I really want the most?
It's kind of the pictures I'm getting in my head is a twisted game of hide and seek. And, you're the seeker and the job and the love of your life and the money is all hiding. And it's like you're the little kid, so the best is to like look around the room to look for something, and the adult in you has looked under every rock and every tree. But it's like these are experts. The career, the job, the love of your life, the money are like expert hiders, and they're in this place that you're never going to find them. They're like covered in leaves and perfectly still, and you walk by them 60 times. It feels like that, and that's because you're seeking the wrong things. So everything really boils down to feeling. And I know you've heard this a lot. I've heard this a lot, like, feel like you already have it. And, seek the highest vibration. And we say these things too. And when I first heard them, I'm like, oh, okay, that's the key. And then I'm like, how the F do I do that? Because I'm looking at my bank account, or I'm looking at the empty spot in the bed next to me. And, I don't get it. But then the more you start embodying the feelings of it, like, okay, yeah, what's behind it? What am I really seeking? Am I seeking really the job? Am I seeking like security? Am I really seeking, a partner right now? Or am I seeking validation, or finally being seen, or being understood? Right. Or am I trying to cure loneliness? So I'm actually seeking not being lonely anymore. Like, what am I seeking? And those are the things that we're looking for.
Right. And it's like being super honest with yourself about all of it. It's like, what do you really look for? What are you really wanting? And not being ashamed of really asking for it. There's no right or wrong of your needs. The key here is not to stay stuck in that seeking process. Really solidify the things that you're wanting to create or feel. This has a lot to do with our belief system too.
Yes.
Diving deep into that and really ironing out what is it that really serves you and does not. Because there's we have a school of belief deep-seated that doesn't serve us anymore, because it's just not the way the world works anymore. And I think a lot of us kind of sit in this is what I believe in, and this is how it works for me, and this is how, I used to sit there all the time, and until I entertained the thought of something different, that's when things really started moving for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and if you're not sure what your beliefs are, like, say you want more money, or say you want, a better or a new relationship or something, spend a little time watching your old friends or your relatives speaking about stuff like that. Like, what are they saying about money? Is it like all rich people are assholes? So you're subconsciously not finding the money because, you don't want them to think you're an asshole, and maybe you think that too. So you're not that. That's not your value system. So I shouldn't probably have money. Like, you don't even know this stuff is playing in the background is my point. Or what's coming out of your mouth all the time. Like, really listen, or ask your best friend. Like, when I talk about relationships, like, what do I say? And they'll be like, well, you always say that, all men are assholes, or there's no good women left in the world, or, stuff like that. Or all relationships are hard. Things like that. So you can have them reflect back to you where those beliefs are held. So then that's what you're really seeking, because that's what you're feeling. Your body is feeling like, I'm not safe around men, women, money, whatever it is. And your brain is shooting out these like pat responses that you got from a kid, or you've learned from TV or social.
Yeah, it's like running on autopilot. It's
easy to do.
It's really, really interesting how it works. We had to drop off my Jeep to the auto place, and I found myself on autopilot. Like, literally, I took a turn where I wasn't supposed to take a turn, because that's what I usually do. But I had to go in a different direction. So it's like being aware and being mindful of the things that are really running through you, because we tend to be on autopilot and at the same time seeking for something different. But how can we create any kind of differences if we're consistently on autopilot? Mm-hmm. Or we're stuck, or we're just like, okay, I'm going to do this because this is what I've always done, and this is how it's going to pan out, and all these things. But yet you're looking for a different outcome. It's just not going to work.
Right. Or a lot of people are seeking the answer to the problem. So it's kind of like this big focus on the problem, or just a quick fix, because they're seeking outside of them instead of shifting what's in here. So, as the point we always talk about, it starts inside with you. So how are you bringing it back, and how are you just seeking more parts of yourself? Like, if you want to look at it as the hide and seek game, like, okay, I am looking for my inner people pleaser. Ah, there she is. Okay, let's have a conversation and see how we can shift that. I am looking for my inner judge. Could be super judgmental to keep me safe, but yeah, I'm going to have a conversation with that. And like, how can we play with all these parts, have fun with all these different parts of ourselves, so that we can feel whole once again? So we don't feel like all these parts of you are hiding and you're just, the scared, burnt out, frustrated, having spiritual highs and then really super deep lows because, oh, that didn't work. Now I'm here again. Like, it's just a big cycle.
I mean, the bottom line, the true seeking comes from within. Really seeking your innermost most brilliance, your whatever that is for you, but it's all in here, because what's out here is what's going to manifest from what you're creating it within yourself. So really diving deep in seeking your inner dialogue, your mindset, your energy, when we entertain the conscious mind deliberately, it has a way of, at least for me, it feels like a game, because you do find yourself having those thoughts of the same, like you were saying earlier, these phrases that we say automatically. But when you're like, catch yourself, like, oh yeah, I always say that, and then like catch yourself in mid-sentence, then you're able to create something different. Something that's more relevant to you and where you are right now in your life, versus, this is what I've always said. So it's like, really seek your inner person, your everything, and really get to know them. I mean, that's what it comes down to when it comes to spirituality and all these things, is really diving deep into who we are, what we're about, what makes us tick, and how our spiritual energy comes into play in a very third dimensional space.
I want to give you a quick message before we get back to this episode. Unlock the secrets of your soul for free with Soul Notes. Say goodbye to feeling stuck and hello to the validation of your alignment. These weekly prompts are filled with reminders, gentle nudges, and sometimes a kick in the ass, all with love from your soul. Don't just take our word for it. Try Soul Notes for yourself and see the difference it can make in your life. Trust us, your soul and you will thank you. Just go to soulnote.org. That's SOULNOTE.org. Now back to our podcast. And how you start to shift how you're speaking, instead of, if you're always saying like, there's no good people left in the world around love. Like, I'm working on myself, and I'm stepping more and more into believing how valuable and how good of a person I am, so that I can find and match up with the same frequency as somebody else who's a really good person. And I'm setting healthier boundaries for myself. I'm taking care of myself better. I don't need another person to do that, but I would love another person to do that for me.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're saying that, and at the same time you're seeking for someone, but you don't believe that there is a good people out in the world, then the energies are doing this. Yep. They're just kind of crossing each other, or completely in opposite directions. So really be mindful of what it is that you're seeking, and the energy that you're putting behind it. If your inner dialogue is, there's no good people, I'll never find love, but that's exactly what you're looking for, it's not going to happen.
No. Or if you're still deep into your last job or your ex or anything like that, and you don't want that, and you don't want that, and you don't want that. That's the energy you're primarily focusing on, because it hurts so bad, and we totally get that.
Right.
And that means some sort of healing that's more the work you're doing with yourself, so that's not what you're attracting, right. So that you're not sitting across from a bunch of people with 20 red flags, because you're on high alert because of
Right.
the last thing that happened to you.
I mean, it starts with the clarity of self. You know, again, going inward, really being clear what you're looking for. What are you believing? What is that inner chatter? What is that subconscious chatter or the subconscious thoughts? You know, like being super deliberate about everything that you're thinking, feeling, acting on. And that is where you're able to really balance out who you are within. So when you say, I'm looking for someone to be with for the rest of my life, that's the energy that's actually going on, not the I'm not worthy to have somebody in my life. Really clean house. That's how it works, so that so that the energy knows exactly what it is looking for. And when you're in that seeking mode of things, that's also super clear. There's no gray area. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. This is how I feel. This is how I want to feel about it. End result comes into play. But if everything's murky,
Right.
yeah, it's not going to happen.
It's you being really deliberate whether you're in consumption mode of knowledge or you're in integration mode of that knowledge. And there needs to be both. It needs to flow back and forth. So if you're just constantly consuming, I mean, you see it with social media. You're doing this. And you might find somebody that, oh, they're kind of interesting. And then you're just like, maybe you'll look at their page. Okay, I'll subscribe. Then you go back to, or you just start doing that with their content. So you're just consuming. There's no integration happening. It's not going to stick because you're constantly on to the next concept.
Yeah. And if that's what works for you, you know, because we have to work with what we have in this world, right? And if that's what works for you, that's what kind of drives you to go, you know, searching through your Instagram and all those things. Think about it in that way. You are Instagram. This is your life. These are your choices. This is you do it that way. Then you know what I'm saying. Like really get into, if that's what moves you. Then you know, imagine it in that way. Nope, I don't want that in my life. Yes, I do want that in my life. This is how I want to feel. This is how I want to act. This is what I want to say. And think of it that way, so that it's doing something physical that you enjoy doing. If you like, you know, scrolling through social media, but more on a personal level. You're going within. You're doing your own thing. When you're sitting in meditation and doing what you do, whatever it is to balance your life. So when I sit in meditation, I do the things that I enjoy during that meditation. And that would be the stillness part of, like, when I sit, you know, in here in the morning and I'm creating that content. So in meditation, I'm sitting there and I'm creating the life that I want. I'm envisioning how I'm looking to feel, what I'm looking to create. I do the same thing, but just in meditation. And I get right with the energy behind it, so that it makes sure that it's clear, you know, on what I'm looking for.
right. I don't think a lot of people do that though.
No, I know that they don't, you know, but it's
But that's a
something-
perfect example of how
something-
you can utilize it.
Something to add to, you know, maybe just trying something a little different. I mean, it only takes a little tweak on something to make it go over the top for
Yeah.
you. You know what I'm saying? We're constantly in that space. It's like we're almost there. You know, we can feel it. You know, and it's just being in that vibration.
Yeah. And I mean, if you hit something, like if you're looking for that dopamine hit, that thing to make you feel better because it hasn't been working, and you get to that thing that switches you, please pause and switch to that integration part. I mean, if you want to keep flipping, that's fine, because you're doing something intentionally. That's really cool. But maybe like write that down or make a note of it, or save that post so that you can meditate on that later, or you can journal on it, or you could just take a walk and think about, you know, why did that hit me? What did it mean to me? How did it shift me? Because you need to take those moments as learning tools on how you're operating and how to do it for yourself. Because you don't want to, like, this is why the addiction to social media is so prominent right now, or to binging something, because we're searching for that feeling. And so as soon as you find it, like, okay, and I want more of it, instead of like, wait, I got it right there. How did that just serve me? So how can I then duplicate that for myself? How can I take the integration time to really embody that so I remember it and I'm like locking it into my core before I just move on to the next, looking for my next hit.
In order for all this to work, we need to have a solid knowing, understanding of ourselves so that we can put out the right energy. So being deliberate puts you in that place, you know, a really like, okay, I'm going to watch everything that I'm going to say. I'm going to get curious about the way I'm acting. I'm going to also get curious. Why do I feel stuck? Why am I in seeking mode all the time? Why do I feel this? Or, you know, get super curious about all those things, because that brings you deeper into the energies that you need to be in so that you can clear the muck.
Mm-hmm. And it's a big process of really unlearning and undoing things, because you've become very attached to certain ways of doing things, certain routines, certain ways you drive to a certain place. And unlearning, unraveling all these things. It's like, if you feel at all stuck or like you're not getting it or the needle's not moving, just picture a big ball of yarn, all like when you pull something out and you're like, ugh, and you have to sit there and like tease it all apart. That's kind of what we're doing with ourselves. We're teasing out all those things that are us and are not us, and what I want to keep and what I don't, and what I deliberately want to change, because I know, like, to become, you know, I want to be this. So to become that type of person does this and says that and lives like this. And how can I step into that? How can I embody it? It always comes back to embodying spiritual wisdom you get either from from Instagram or from wherever, a book, wherever you get it, just some song, something somebody says. How do you embody that in your being and become it? That's like the bottom line. Seeking mode, there's no good or bad about it. There's no right or wrong, but you can surely feel like you're trapped in it if you're not taking the other steps beyond that.
Absolutely. And I'll leave you with this. Self-knowledge and awareness are the key to empowerment.
All right.
Take that in.
Take
Be
it
kind.
in.
Peace.
Peace.